Welcome to Inside the Upside Down, author and ghost story, and Mike Ricksecker with you here, as well as Shauna, our chat shenanigator, and a very talented writer in her own right. We say that because we do have a book coming out here very soon. Oh, she's shying away. She's shying away.
I know.
But it's true. It's true. Which is Encounters with the Paranormal. That's coming out in October. But we're going to be talking tonight about energy fields. And I know some of you out there are like, wait a minute, don't we just cover ley lines, which is kind of like energy grids and stuff like that? Well, that's energy grids. Energy fields is more to do with the energy that we're experiencing at some of these different sites, whether it's haunted location, whether it's we're just on the Edge of the Rabbit Hole with Chris Sutton here earlier, Sacred Ground. So we're going to talk a little bit about that because there's a couple examples here that I kind of want to get into. But yeah, it's quite different than the ley line stuff.
Yeah, because you can have a spot that, has energy or has an energy field, either based on, who was there or what happened on the property or what have you. And it may not be associated with a ley line at all, or a connector point or anything like that. So you can have one without the other.
Yep. So a $10 super chat right off the bat from Tom McNicholas says positive vibes on the new book. Thank you very much, Tom. I really, really do appreciate that. And I want to thank everybody who has hung out here from Edge of the Rabbit Hole and those new that are joining us for the after show of Edge of the Rabbit Hole. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. We would really appreciate that. We are trying to get to 8,000 by the end of the month, which basically we need 100 in the next 2 days. Maybe 3. What is it? Friday's the last day? So 3 days, yeah.
It could happen.
It can happen. It can physically happen. So please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and click that little bell icon to get notifications of all of our uploads, live streams, everything that we're doing. So, all right. So, Adam Tillery asking if I just cracked open a water cooler jug. This is not a sponsored plug. I wish it would be, though. Fiji. It's a bottle of Fiji water. So it's a bigger one. I got a 6-pack of these because I like Fiji water. And it's really freaking hot in here right now.
I personally am a core drinker.
I like those too.
So
yeah. None of that's sponsored, by the way. So it's all free plugs. All right, so let's get into it. So a couple reasons why this came up in my head because of the long weekend, so driving around all over the place and just between following a storm all over the place. From here to Indianapolis, where Hannah House event, which was great after the storm blew through, and then back to Ohio. I had to work a day there, but Sunday morning I was out at the Gore Orphanage Swift Mansion area with Sean Gilmore, which was pretty cool. Those of you who watched the live stream, thank you very much for that. Yeah, anniversary dinner with some family, and then I had to work Monday, and then right back here. So I was like, man, it took me until Monday night driving back here to be like, okay, what are we doing for Inside the Upside Down? But a couple of things that have come up here just recently made me think of this topic about energy fields. So many of you caught the live stream of Spiro Mounds, where right off the bat trying to go live from on top of a mound, and it is a mound that you are allowed to traverse. They have a path there that you can go up. It's not a burial mound. Actually, most Native American mounds are not burial mounds. About 80 to 85% of them are not. This was actually previously a ritual center, so it was like they were a little spiritual. They had a hut that was on top of it, and it was like more of a squared off mound, and it had steps that you'd climb up back in the day. And like I said, they had a building up there. They conduct ceremonies. So trying to go live from up there, and the feed was having all kinds of freaking crazy problems. It was cutting out. It had to reconnect back and forth. You guys know it was a mess. So we come down off the mound, and I was out there with Dark Night Paranormal. They invited me out because we heard something out in the woods. It may have been an animal. One of the motion sensor lights had gone off down the hill. So I was like, okay, let's go check it out. Well, down the hill out in the woods, pretty much no problem. There's still a little pixelation and all that just because you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But the feed wasn't cutting out. So it's like, okay, let's go back up to the mound. And I actually did think that, hey, maybe there was something going on with the energy from the mound that was causing it, because the mound is elevated, right? Totally clear, where in the woods you got trees and everything. So, you're thinking you should have better reception up on top of the mound. So, nope, go back up on top of the mound, starts cutting out, losing connection again. So, Shauna, it seems to me that, sacred site like this, that there's some sort of energy there, within the ground that is causing some sort of, disturbance with the connection. Or is it the entities that may still be there, their energy interfering with it?
It could be a mix of both. I mean, if we're talking, you say that the majority of them are not actual burial mounds, but it would make sense for it to interfere with. Somebody would be like, hey, get off my mound. Get off my property.
Well, they'll still be protective of the site, I would think.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe a site that has a lot of energy attached to it can definitely interfere with whatever devices that you're using. So, yeah, that would make sense a lot.
Yeah. So, that's one example. And this is almost kind of going to be like a greatest hits episode, because there's a number of things. I'm mentioning 2 examples offhand here, but there's other stuff, from days gone by, investigations gone by. So the other one that happened just this past weekend out there was Sean Gilmore. Sean, you in the house? I know you're in Edge of the Rabbit Hole, so throw up your hand down there if you're still around. So Sean Gilmore and I were out at the quote-unquote Gore Orphanage area, which, I have to say this every freaking time, it was not really the Gore Orphanage. There was no Gore Orphanage. There was a Gore Road. An orphanage went in on the top of the hill, so they appended the name Orphanage on there. The house in question that everybody calls the Gore Orphanage was the Swift Mansion. 2 different families, had nothing to do with the orphanage, lived in there. Very sad things happened. And bad things happened up at the orphanage, but there was no Gore Orphanage. In any case, so we're down there in these ruins, which is basically like a hole in the ground, and there's stones, and there's some walls that are left, but it's been gone for almost 100 years. And every time that we're talking about the history, basically things like what I was just saying in the feed would start cutting out. And I mean, Shauna, you watched that live stream, and it was every time I started talking about the history. And there was one time where Sean just said the word history, and all of a sudden, boom, we lost connection. So to me, it seems to me, in any case, that the energy from the spirits, as they're coming close to us, and we tried to ask, do we have it wrong? Is there something you want us to know, more about the history? Is it making you curious? Are you upset that we're talking about any of those types of questions? We have to go back through audio to see if we've really got an answer or not. But it seems to me that it was drawing them out, drawing them closer to us, and their energy near us was causing that sort of interference.
Yeah, usually, and see, it's kind of toss-up. I wonder if, if it's negative, like not negative, like evil or anything like that, but like frustration or energy on their part, because there have been times whenever we've gone to places where there's been a lot of energy and everything be fine. So it makes me wonder if it's the emotion that's attached to the energy that's making a difference.
And it could be. Yeah, if it was... I'm trying to think here, because I've seen that before where, a spirit is just there mildly, and you're not really getting a whole lot, but then all of a sudden you mention one thing, and all of a sudden, boom, you get these mean, nasty spikes. And I know they depict it in, like, movies and whatnot, that all of a sudden, the thing comes jumping out at you or whatever. But in a lot of, the things that we use for detectors and meters and whatnot, that all of a sudden you mention something and boom, it spikes.
Wish we would have had something going on up there in Mineral Springs that night. Everything was dead. All of our stuff was, it was close to the end of the into the line, and all I had was a recorder, but I would have loved to have had something going on, you know, something going to see how it affected, because there was a lot of energy up in there that night. And I don't think any of it was really all that positive.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, whatever it was really strong. And I have a feeling that if there would have been anything, any type of live going on, it definitely would have affected that, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, that, because you were basically in my lap. And it was strong enough that it actually pushed me back.
Yeah. Yeah. That was especially upstairs at Mineral Springs. I've had some pretty, you know, cool, significant experiences, but that one.
Yeah, that was a big jump.
That one kind of shook me up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
See, and that in itself is, you know, energy playing out. You know, that's a big energy surge right there.
Oh yeah, it was a big one.
Yeah. So Judy asking, this is back on Spiro Mounds. Were there ever any bodies buried in that area of the mounds? No. There was one burial mound, which was down the hill a ways and across the fields, basically away from where the mound that we were on top of was called the Brown Mound, and it was basically the center of the plaza where they had other, you know, buildings on top of mounds that had different functions. This one was specifically the spiritual center, where they'd go up to the top of the mound, hold different ceremonies in a little building that was up there. So the actual burial mound was down the hill. And like I said, across the fields, and that one had already been severely desecrated. So back in the 1930s, there was a commercial digging team that went in there, and they started rooting out the bodies and the burial chambers, and they looted the place, and they sold off the artifacts to different collectors around the world. And they've gotten some of the artifacts back, but not very much. And it was really sad because a lot of those artifacts were supremely preserved for over 1,000 years. And what they've done there with that particular mound is they've rebuilt it, but there's not a whole lot that's actually still there within that burial mound. But that's not the mound that we were on top of. But we were still having all kinds of crazy energy up there. And even, okay, I have to go back and clean up that video because there is a YouTube editor, and even Betty Lange said in there that feed was bad. When I went over to that burial mound, because we were headed away from the Brown Mound and going out to where they have a replica hut, and people have gotten activity there. They've seen apparitions, things like that. The team that I was with, they dropped their light or something on the ground. They were messing around with that, trying to get it fixed up. And so I decided to take the live stream over to the burial mound, not to go up it, but just walk by, because there's a path that goes around it. But once I got there, and I introduced it a little bit, and I turned the camera around to the team to see what was going on with them, the video froze up. You could still hear the audio, but the video froze up. And so this was over by the burial mound. So apparently, still, again, something.
It was like that for a long time.
Yeah. So even with that, even the mound being desecrated, apparently there's still some sort of energy attached to it, some sort of energy field that's around there that was affecting the live feed. So I guess Dawn was having some sort of issue getting back in. Sorry about that, Dawn. But good to see you. Okay, so, you know, other cases. Oh, Tom McNicholas, bad storms and lights are flickering. Well, I hope they stay up there. Actually, I might go for that right now. Cool it off over here.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So, some other cases of, being affected by energy on investigations. So I've talked many times about the Stone Lion Inn and the night. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice already. I actually talked a little bit more during the first show than I usually do. I usually let Vanessa do a lot of the talking and edge of the rabbit hole so I can save my voice for this show. But yeah, the Stone Lion Inn. So many of you have heard the story about about the Bureau Dwarf slamming shut on its own, and the white wisp that we've caught, and then the Lizzie Borden framed photo crashing to the stairs and all of that. But before all of that happened, when I was just doing an EMF sweep of the house, I was in the library, which doesn't get a whole lot of activity. And I'm walking by the fireplace. And all of a sudden, the K2 that I was holding just spiked all the way out to red. And I felt this huge wave of energy just rush over me. And I almost passed out from it. What it was, I don't know. But something passing through me? I mean, I don't know if that was like what you felt with Molly.
I don't think I've ever felt anything pass through me. Get it up in my face, yeah. There's been times where stuff has been, so close, around me, that it feels like, like all the air is gone, like everything's just still. I've heard people describe things or them walking through or actually seeing a spirit come in and just go through them, and I can't really say I've ever felt that. So I've certainly never seen it. So I don't know. I can't say.
Yeah, well, that was the one that I really felt like something rushed right through me. And should I say it? No, because we're not supposed to talk about that. You gotta know what I'm talking about. The show that must not be named.
Oh.
Yeah. Whatever. But energy, and I guess it got brought up on Edge of the Rabbit Hole. The whole phrase, like, use your energy to do whatever. Do you think that spirits really know what they're doing when you say something like use your energy? I mean, the energy is there. We know it. We've experienced it. We've felt it. We've been able to measure it to a degree with our different devices. But do you really think they know?
Probably the majority of them may not realize it unless you're explaining it to them. I mean, some of the energy that you deal with, they don't know what paranormal investigators are. Especially the less modern ones. This would be something that, they may not know anything about. Maybe they're more religious and don't believe in, the more new age, the energy, all that stuff. They may not believe in that. So if that's what your intentions are, if that's what you want them to do, then explain it. Tell them, say energy is everywhere. We all have energy. We're all made of energy. If you want to, reach out and see if it's easier for you to get the message across that you're trying to tell us, if being near me helps you do that, go for it. And be careful what you ask for. Definitely.
Yeah, there's people that will say, use your energy, but I think that's one you do have to be careful of. When we brought that up on Edge of the Rabbit Hole.
You don't know what's listening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think I've ever come into contact with any demons out there, but if there's one listening, you might want to be careful what you ask for. And so there's that.
Well, and there's the whole thing about battery drain as well. So, and Sean and I experienced that on Sunday, where you had fresh new batteries in a REM pod. He had set up the REM pod, was walking away. The REM pod went off. This is back by the well. REM pod went off, and he mentioned it to me. I was kind of introducing the whole live stream when that happened, and experiencing all my craziness with, getting the live stream off the ground and trying to talk about the history, and that wasn't happening. So we went back over to where the REM pod was to check it out, and as we're approaching it, it's not going off at all, which it should when you get like really, really close to it. he pops open the battery. The batteries are dead. Like, boom. So the question is, was something approaching him? You know, because the REM pod went off. It sucked enough juice out of it.
I believe in that. I've seen that happen firsthand on the goldenrod. Caught on video. You know, all these devices going off, you know, as you're asking for someone to come closer and, you know, reach out and touch a plasma ball, which they've probably never seen before. Everything's going off, signaling the sign of something approaching. Something actually touches the plasma ball, and you can see the point, you know, that's touching. You can see that nobody else is near it. And then, poof, plasma ball's gone.
Yeah, you've had some interesting experiences with plasma balls.
Yeah, it's pretty cool tool. I mean, you know, you can feel the energy that you know gives off whenever you're close to it. So to a spirit who doesn't know what it is, you know, you really have to explain it. You know, exactly what it does. You know, what it is, what it does, what happens. You know, give a tutorial, which is what I did. You know, it wasn't working before, and then I get up there and I explain, you know, this is what it is. This is how it works. This is what it does. This is what it looks like. If you can feel it, great. It's not going to hurt you. If you can't see it, follow the sound of my voice. You know they can hear you. So come right at us, pretty much setting all of the devices off, and then boom, and lasted you can see all of the everything coming in to focus on the finger, the point of contact, and then poof, gone.
Well, and I think that is good that
cool.
you explained it, because I think that's one thing that a lot of investigators miss doing is they don't explain it. You know, it becomes the biggest explanation they give is like talking to the red light or whatever, when you might have a spirit from, you know, the early 1800s that has no idea what we're talking about.
They may not even be able to see that red light, let alone know that they're able to talk into it like a microphone. So your best bet is to explain, this is who I am, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm holding, this is what it does, and there's a red light on there. If you can see it, fine. If you can't see it, come over by me, talk to me, I can hear you. Might not be able to hear you right now. And then you have to go off onto another. You have to explain how the rule of playback works, because some spirits, they didn't have that back then. They don't have any idea what you're talking about. So you have to spell it out sometimes, and you might discover that you get more results that way. So stop doing it like they do it on TV. I'm serious, you guys. Stop mimicking what you see on TV. Paranormal doesn't perform on demand. It doesn't always perform on demand for me either, but I get a lot more results if I do it my way compared to that way. So subscribe to the channel and watch how it's done. That's how you do it.
There's the plug.
That's how you do it.
So Karen Whitaker says that she had an experience last week with not being able to breathe and experiencing chest pains, which made her walk deeper into the room. So be careful with that, please. So
she was getting that. You were getting that as you were walking into the room.
Still walked into the room.
I mean, you could have been empathically linking to. You could have been feeling lingering symptoms of how someone may have passed away, and wherever you were at. That happens. That's happened to me before. You know, sometimes I feel, you know, empaths, I feel emotions and stuff like that. I do get that sometimes, but more likely I am going to feel symptoms. And some of those symptoms aren't that great. So I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up whether I would have the symptoms or the emotions, you know. But, yeah, definitely it could have been that. It very well could have been that. But if you can walk through that spot, you know, or if you have to walk out of it to kind of, you know, kind of shield yourself a little bit from it, you might be able to walk back, you know, into a spot where you've had problems like that, and it may not bother you as much. If you know how to ground and shield, that is great. If you do not, look it up, because that will certainly help whenever things get uncomfortable in places like that.
Ground and shield. It's one of her favorite terms.
Yeah. Ground,
Ground
and shield.
It's got I don't know. It's just one of those terms, like lock and load. Your ground and shield. It's like lock and load, baby, and you're like ground and shield, baby.
That should be on a T-shirt. Ground and shield, baby.
Yeah, we do that. Next T-shirt. There we go. So from Shay, she asks, if you guys don't ask if they are dead, do you say you're investigating? I say a lot, we're here to visit and see how you are doing. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much. That
is a way more respectful way than to ask, you're dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we don't ever mention that, they're dead, they've passed away. How did you die? No, we don't do that.
It's incredibly disrespectful. I have zero respect for anybody that investigates that way. Don't do that.
Yeah, we come in and we introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Mike. This is Shauna. Love to meet you. We're from here. Just stopping by. Like you said, stopping by to visit. Just really love to meet you, get to know who you are, maybe eventually become friends.
If you want to know, if you know that something traumatic has happened to somebody, there are ways to ask them. Ask them how they're feeling. Obviously, there's been times I heard that you were not doing so well or feeling so well. You could even approach it that way if you just absolutely have to get on the subject. Because if someone was sick first, they may remember not feeling well. So that part is true. You're asking them, I'm sorry that I heard that you were not feeling well. They may remember, they may not remember, but they may not even know that they're gone. What if it's fresh? I mean, think of how, it just kills me though. I mean, what if it's a fresh, they may not even know they're gone yet. I don't know how that works. If you know right away when something like that happens, or do you wander around confused, like, why is nobody talking to me? What's going on? Why is it this way? Why is it that way? You don't know. I mean, I would like to think I would know.
Yeah, I would hope that when that moment happens that I would know, but I think it's a mixed bag. Some of these spirits, they act like they know. They act like, hey, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. I'm sticking around for a while, that sort of thing. But then there's others that just, they're going on with their lives like they are still living. So, and I think that's one of the hard things that we're trying to figure out in this field is, because people ask us all the time, okay, what happens when you die? And I think that's one of the difficult things for us to try to answer. We always ask these spirits, in a subtle way, about the way the afterlife works, and don't get any answers because, you have different spirits doing different things. And you don't really know why, okay, one is acting like they know that they've passed on and the others are acting like they haven't. It's one of the big mysteries that we're trying to discover here as paranormal investigators.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to ask them if they know how they died.
Right.
But you can skirt the issue by asking, do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in the afterlife? Do you believe in spirits? What do you think happens when you die? You're not directly asking them, you're dead, so what's going on? What do you think? Let it be a topic of discussion. You may feel like you're talking to yourself. You don't always get 99% of the time, you don't get an answer. And if you do, you get a yes or a no here and there. But I know they listen.
Yeah.
I know they're listening. They may not be able to answer.
So, Interface Death, is that Justin? Asked, do you think spirits have a hard time seeing and hearing us like we have a hard time seeing and hearing them? Sometimes.
Sometimes I think so.
Yep. Sometimes I do believe that. I think other times they know exactly what we're saying, because they seem to react accordingly. But, I'm trying to remember. But, I mean, I've seen interactions before where it seemed like they were having, almost like, where we were listening in for a voice and heard a voice, and you got some bits and pieces, but then that voice coming back was kind of almost acting the same way, like they were hearing you and only hearing bits and pieces. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it goes both ways. Judy Wilson. Oops, it just scrolled all the way down. But I saw something from Judy there, and then it all went away. Tom McNicholas talking about The Others. Yes, we mentioned The Others quite a bit on this show.
It's a good movie.
Wow. I guess I had it way up there a bit. Okay, there we go. No, that one's from Dawn, but I'll go ahead and say it anyways. From Dawn, do spirits see us as flesh or energy?
I've never had one answer me.
Yeah.
I mean, well, now I know that sometimes they can see you, because at the cafe I had asked, can you see me? What color is my shirt? If you can see me, what color is my shirt? And got an answer. So sometimes they can see you.
That one was actually from Judy. It wasn't from Dawn. But yeah.
But sometimes, I have no idea. I think sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. Just like, I'm not the same as everybody. We're all different on what we perceive and what we don't. Sometimes I see them, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I can feel them, I can hear them. Sometimes I can hear them but not feel them. I mean, it's just...
Well, and I mention all the time, sorry if I'm just trying to get all the questions out of there, and I should probably put it into that document there. But, I talk about all the time, especially anybody that's been watching the Shadow People presentations, about that moment at Johnny V's where I walk in and I scared it. And, it was a shadow person. It was a wisp, what I call a black wisp, and it darted right across the room. So it was some form of energy, matter, that created a sound. Bam, it hit the door. You didn't see the door move, but you heard the sound. So it has to be some sort of energy that made that sound. But what did it see me as? Because obviously I scared it. Did it see me as Mike? Did it see me as, like, I saw it, like a black wisp? Maybe it saw me as white energy. I don't know. It saw me as something, and I scared it.
Yeah. I've caught a shadow figure unaware before also. And it stayed there, kind of hovering, like, in back, like I didn't know what to do. Where do I do? Where do I go?
Right.
But it seemed to kind of, linger there and listen. But whenever I tried to get closer, it just was gone. Like, I didn't go here, there, backward, or whatever. It was just there and then gone. But then after we were like, I'm sorry, let's back up and give you your space, and then shut the door, and you could see the shadow from where I guess it had taken some kind of form, because it was making a shadow. You could see the shadow moving under the door. Like it was pacing and stuff. So, and that was at a private residence in Campsville. Ah. So.
A very haunted little town.
Yeah.
That Shauna's originally from.
Right across, actually, the lot from where I used to live when I was, like, little.
The town in which every building is haunted except her parents.
Right. I mean, yeah.
So Betty, she says it's a teasing question, but if a person was a jokester in life, would his spirit pull jokes on you? Yeah.
I feel like that's true. I've experienced that.
Yeah, we've had that question in other ways. And basically what we said was, well, if you're an asshole in life, you're probably an asshole in death. It's when people ask us about demons, and, and we try to tell people, okay, there's very, very few demons that are running around this world. A lot of these things that people throw out there, like, they see a candle get tossed off of their mantle, and they suddenly think that they have a demon. And malevolent human spirit, somebody mischievous, maybe, again, asshole in life, now he's an asshole in death, that sort of thing. But not necessarily a demon. So, but if, the other way, jokester is a much more positive version of that question.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If you're a jokester in life, you're most likely a jokester in death.
And if you're a more modern spirit and you were a jokester, I have a feeling things get pretty interesting. Because if I were that way, that'd be the first thing. I'd go to everybody that I know, and I'd be doing some shenanigating.
Well,
there was some shenanigans going on.
There was a guy that I worked with when I was back in my Air Force days, when I was stationed in Maryland at Fort Meade, NSA. So this would have been like 96, and guys telling me about, because we were talking ghost stuff, and he was telling me that he had a couple of ghosts that were living with him in his apartment, and they had some agreements that they had all worked out, but they were basically they were a gay couple that had lived there, and they each died, and they came back to stay and live in the house with him. They said they were both very nice guys, and the one was a bit of a jokester, a bit of a prankster, and he would, like to do, silly little things around the house. And I guess that's the way he was in life, and now it's the way he was in death as well. So, yeah. God, I haven't thought of that story in years. Yeah, because he had some funny, like, different TV stories and, things getting moved around, and just, he was a prankster. Yeah. Bill May, if you're out there, thanks for the story. All right, so let's see. Tom McNicholas talking about getting better responses with the Periscope than a RIM pod. So, it's funny. I don't own either one, but I've used both, and I'm cool with both. I don't know. So let's see what else you guys have for questions down here. We'll talk about batteries here in just a moment if we don't have any other questions. That's Tom talking about the others, so we're back a little ways here. So here we go. From Mark Fiore. Why are spirits still wearing clothes when I see an apparition? Surely clothing would be a living thing. So that almost goes along with the questions that people ask. Do spirits show you themselves as they want to be seen by you?
I kind of believe that. Whatever the last thing is that they remember of themselves, maybe that's how they come across. I mean, there's every apparition I have ever seen has been clothed. Every single one of them, and I'm not talking, all. I know that there's been a residual one here and there, but there's been some that's interacted with me intelligently also, that I've seen, and they were fully clothed. It would make sense that a residual would be clothed, because that's just an imprint. They don't have any control over what they're doing.
Well, if it's residual, it's going to be whatever that imprint, whatever that recording is, it's going to play back as exactly that.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me. Intelligent, being clothed. Maybe they feel like they would be more accepted being clothed. Being naked in any, nowadays people be walking around naked, get in trouble. It happens in any area, in any era, time period or whatever. Nobody walked around naked unless you were Native American. A lot of them walked around naked.
There were naked Native American tribes,
right.
And I will say that if you were a streaker in life, you may be a streaker in death. Yep. But there's also the idea that, because I've heard many stories about this before, that spirits will show themselves to different people, like, at different ages they were. So sometimes they'll show themselves as they were as a child, but then they'll show themselves to somebody else that they may have seen later in life as an adult. And I remember throwing this example out years ago that, like, when my grandfather passed away, I truly believe that he was visiting many of us. I know I experienced him. I didn't actually see him, but a lot of different things happened that I knew were him. But if he was making himself like appear, he went and visited my grandmother. People saw many interactions she was actually having with him, although they couldn't see him. They saw her. So, it's very possible that he could have been showing himself to her as like a younger self. But there would be no reason for him to show me himself as a younger self, because I didn't see him when he was younger. Like, I've seen some photos. So it would make more sense for me to see him as an older self. And I certainly wouldn't see him naked. So if that's true, that spirits are able to show themselves to people as they want them to see them in order to, maybe give some sort of context to, hey, this is who I am. And maybe there would be a specific reason to show themselves as like even a child spirit. I would think in probably 99% of those cases, they would show themselves in some sort of clothing as well. So there you go, Mark Fiore. Thanks for dropping in, asking the question. So, per Betty Lange, have you ever seen a light come on while investigating? I have some light stories. How about you?
Oh, yeah. I have a few. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, we know in Jacksonville.
Dawn says she hears a cricket. I know. It's over there by the door.
Yeah, there's been a few times. There was also a time whenever a light came on, I'd ask for it to turn off. I don't want the light on right now. Can you please turn the light off? There's a lot of that. Seen lamps come on. This light seems to be a pretty popular one. Maybe it's easier for them to do that than it is some of the other stuff.
Yeah, you hear a lot of stories that when we go to investigate a place, one of the things that they'll say is, well, and the lights will come on, by their own, or somebody will have turned off all the lights when we left, and somebody drives by and the lights on, and the upper floor or something like that. So going back to my grandfather, light story. So when I lived in Oklahoma and was investigating there, my kids kept thinking that I had brought something home, because occasionally the light on the fan in the living room would come on its own. And this happened several times. Sometimes it would turn off. It would go either way. It would go on, go off. So, I never felt that I had ever brought anything home with me. I always, going into a location, coming out of a location, had my own little things that I would do. And I never thought I brought anything home with me. So this was around the time where, I knew my grandfather was periodically visiting. And so there's this one time that I'm just there at the house with my son Cameron, my youngest. And we're about to leave in like 5 minutes. We'd gotten a call, asked to, go out. So, okay, Cameron and I are going to go out. And so kind of just getting stuff ready to go. And all of a sudden the light comes on, and I'm like, okay, fine. I get out the audio recorder because I'm tired of being accused of having brought something home. So turn on the audio recorder, and I say, what exactly was it? Well, I started asking the questions. If you're anybody, then please let me know, that sort of stuff. And then, what the heck was it? Was the light turned off? I remember the, whatever the thing happened, going on, going off, whatever it was. I ended up saying, if you are really somebody trying to communicate with me right now, you're going to have to do something better than that. I actually challenged it. And it started blinking. On and off, on and off, on and off. I was like, okay. I had to wrap it up, had to run out the door. But in that 5 minutes, light blinking, I did catch an EVP that said, don't stay here anymore. And I was pretty sure it was my grandfather. So
that's kind of rude.
Well,
what do you mean?
Well, he was a nice guy. He was a really sweet guy. So,
it's like, where are you supposed to go?
Away from there. But it was interesting. Very interesting. Light story. I know I saw another one. So, I think this is from Donna. Yeah. When I see spirits, say in a reading, the person appears both in a way that they could be familiar to the person or from when they were happiest in their life. Okay. From Dawn, question: has a spirit ever stepped into either of you or passed through you? Well, I think that was my Stone Lion Inn story. So.
Yeah, it's like I said before, I've had them, get up close and personal and stuff like that, but if one has gone through me, I didn't realize it.
Okay. Sorry, I was looking at, make sure I was caught up with the question. So, dead air time. Apologize for that. I know I keep going right by it. There it is. Okay. So, from Sean G, how do you feel about people investigating their own homes or trying to get EVPs, especially if they aren't investigators or only experiences from TV? I don't feel so hot about that. I mean, I know I just told a story about me trying to capture an EVP in my own home. I also, again, don't believe that I brought anything home with me and that it was family. But I think that is a big problem that is actually out there, is that people are seeing what they see on TV, and it looks very simple to do. Sit in the dark with an audio recorder and throw questions out into the air. You have a couple of gadgets there that might light up. It looks very simple. But I think, like with anything, like you have a whole debate over like a Ouija board, whether they're good or bad. And I think it comes down to your knowledge of how to use it. That the reason why so many people have problems with Ouija boards is because they don't know how to use it properly. Well, I use a Ouija board to communicate with spirits. Use an audio recorder to communicate with spirits. So I think it comes down to that, not having that knowledge of how to conduct all that, that people, I see that on TV, I'm going to do it in my own house, and they start getting in trouble with bringing and inviting things into their own home because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, I will say that whenever you watch and mimic what they do on TV, you learn a lot of bad habits. There's a lot of bad habits out there. I think the one thing that people forget to remember is that they were people too. Spirits are people too. You're not going to go up to somebody, in real life and say, hey, I can't hear you. Can you, knock on something a little louder? Or, yeah, I just, TV is the worst place to learn, especially if it's from somebody who's there just for the money. Just trying to be famous.
And I think it
gives the misconception that the paranormal happens on demand, and it does not.
Well, and I think you'd look really goofy in your own home. You're playing back the audio recorder, and suddenly, you just go, oh! Would you really do that in your own home?
Dude. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I've investigated in my own home. Not this one. And not the one before, but whenever I was at the cafe, because stuff followed me home all of the time.
Yeah, you had some issues
and
there.
And I wasn't...
Because of the cafe, not because of your home.
Yeah, I wanted to know who was following me home. Was it somebody that I just left? you know, or was it somebody? It was always somebody from the cafe, and it was the same ones from the cafe, and I'd even, you know, seen them in there, so I know who they were. I wanted to know what I was dealing with because my kids were there. You know, I didn't know as much about how to guard or protect, or, you know, just the words I didn't feel like were enough. I needed to do something else. I was starting to feel a little guilty there after a while, you know. It's like, how can I stop them from coming home without stopping the investigating? You know, telling them, don't come home with me, you know, and then after a while it was like, I need you to stay here so that I can come see you. You stay here. This is your home. This is my home. If I say, yeah, come over, you know, come over. Otherwise, it's just rude. And after a while, that kind of worked, you know. They kind of stayed where they were. So, yeah, and if you want to investigate in your home, fine. But be smart about it. And, you know, just remember that you don't know exactly what you're going to be dealing with all of the time, so just be careful what you ask for.
We missed one from earlier from Chanel. Her son wants to know, if you're deaf in life, how would you try to talk to ghosts? So I guess it's asking if the real life person, the living person, is deaf. And
so how would you investigate if you're deaf and you can't hear?
Yeah, I almost took that the other way, where if the person had been living and then they died and became a ghost, would they still be deaf? No, they wouldn't, because they don't have a physical body anymore. But no, this is the other way around. So if you're deaf in life, how would you talk to ghosts? So if you cannot hear,
with your
it's
mind.
in the mind. Use the mind's eye. Yeah. So
I believe they can. I know they can communicate that way. I am 100% positive of that. You know, you can never be 100% positive of everything. But just from my own personal experiences, I am 100% positive that I have experienced that. So I can say that I know that. But that's not the same for everybody. You know?
Yeah, so you're not using an
different.
audio recorder, but
Yeah.
what would you do? Like put yourself into a meditative state and like leave your mind open or something like that?
Yeah, because whenever someone lacks a sense, their others are stronger.
Right.
So you may not be able to hear, but you can see, or you can feel. And then there's your sixth sense. You don't have to hear to be able to have that either. So it's all in your mind. We all have it. We all have a sixth sense. Some of us, you know it's there. Some of us have discovered how to use it, and some people maybe don't, either because they're afraid to tap into that, or they've been programmed at a young age, you don't want to do that, you know. But we all have it. So yeah, if you cannot hear, there are other ways to hear.
Yep, I agree with that. So I hope that's helpful. And I guess that would be, you know, almost like a way to be encouraged to explore some of those more, you know, trying to enhance your sixth sense and trying to discover more about meditative states and things like that, more about the mind's eye and that sort of thing.
Try some sensory deprivation with people that you trust. You know, do something where if you can't see and you take your hearing is compromised and your sight is compromised, you know, it's kind of like a modified Gansfeld, really, because the actual true Gansfeld experiment was to see if psychically people could, you know. Yeah,
because you had one person that was reading and seeing if the person that was deprived could actually pick up on what you were over there reading. So, yeah. So there's some things to try. So apparently Andrew Cox is experiencing new paranormal stuff while driving in his rig during blood moon and eclipse. Very cool. We have from Judy, have you ever had a spirit mess with you? Clarify, mess with you? I mean, I've had them poke me, prod me, I don't know, little pushes here and there. I've had the whole wave kind of knock me over. I mean, it was the person you were investigating with that had the ectogasm.
That's definitely some messing with.
It's definitely some messing with.
Yeah. So, being grabbed, touched, pushed.
Yeah.
I've been scratched. Was it a demon? No. I believe it was someone trying to get my attention, and they got it. There was nothing, evil, mean, nasty going on afterwards, so I'm inclined to believe it probably wasn't a demon, even though I got scratched. It happens. A cat will scratch you. A kid will scratch you if they're trying to get your attention. That's how they get your attention sometimes. Doesn't mean you need to pull out your Bible or anything, or you need to flee the scene. Your sixth sense will tell you, your little voice, if it's still working, will tell you whether something's bad, you need to leave or not. I've never left the scene because there was something evil coming after me.
Trust your instincts.
Yeah. I've left, before physical damage could happen. Thankfully, my little voice was working that night. And, yeah, there's different ways to mess with somebody, So...
Andrew Cox asks, what about stuff about shadows and spirits jumping up from the roads or interstates? Well, I mean, there's ghosts on highways. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have a video on like the top 500 roads, so you can check that out. Yeah, I mean, definitely I hear what?
Yeah, I was going to say that one gas station / truck stop where we basically had a hitchhiker for a few minutes.
Oh, well, yeah, that happened while we were driving, yeah.
Yep. And
that was just on I-90 in Ohio, yeah.
You had to pull over and be like, no.
Get out.
I mean, it was getting kind of friendly there from the back.
Yeah, that was one messing with you. There you go.
Oh, my God. I tried to blow it off, but then after a while, I was like, whoa. And it's like, if you're a kid, I'm sorry. And then we put up with it for a little bit until I could figure it out. It's like, I don't think it's a kid. Yeah. I don't think it's a kid. So we had to stop and open the door and be like, it's time to go. It's time to vacate. You cannot go on this trip. Gotta go. So I've seen shadows on the side of the road.
Oh, sure.
I've seen spirits of animals on the side of the road. I've seen phantom cars at an intersection that were just boom there enough to scare the crap out of me, and then they weren't there anymore. There's all kinds of stuff on the highways, on the roads. Roads are a very active place.
So Betty Lange says question, but I don't know if it's quite worded as a question. It's more of a statement, but it's okay. TVs did show me places open to investigations. One positive in a way. Yeah, that's... And, that is... I don't watch a lot of shows anymore. But when I did, that was something that I did watch them for. Like the show that must not be named, I did enjoy the first 20 minutes of the show because I would get introduced to a location. I'd get some of the history and background, which may or may not have been true, but that's why you research on your own. And then you'd get people's personal experiences of things that happened to them that they experienced there and things like that. So, it's a great way to get introduced to some locations. And then, the investigation part would be goofy and all that stuff. But, it's a good way to get introduced to a lot of places. And that's why a lot of the television shows exist, is that it's a plug for the location, stuff on Travel Channel. Well, these are, the perspective is that, these are places that you can go to and visit, places you can travel to. They just happen to have ghosts. So, that's kind of the tie into it all. So, yeah, it's a good way to get introduced to locations. All right. So we kind of got a little bit away from energy fields, but it's all related because spirits are energy. So let's see. What's Okay, it's from James Warman, spirit boards, good or bad. Well, I kind of addressed that a little bit earlier, where I was saying that people just don't know how to use them. I don't use a Ouija board or a spirit board because I've not been trained on how to use one. I'm not familiar with it enough, and therefore me trying to use one would probably have a bad result. And I think that's where a lot of the kids that use them get into trouble with it. Of course, they're marketed as a game, which is not a good idea. And so people that get in trouble with Ouija boards, I think that's why, because they don't know the whole process. And I know stuff about, okay, when you close out the session, say goodbye and all that stuff. Okay, but still, I've talked to people that use them as tools and they're quite comfortable with them. Great. I'm glad it works for them. Audio recorder, that's my primary tool that I use to try to communicate, and I'm very comfortable with that. I know how to use it, but there are people that really don't realize how to use that device. It's not just sitting around and throwing any old question into the air and hoping you get a response. There is really a method to the madness when you're asking those questions, and how to also close that off and essentially say goodbye, almost like you would do a Ouija board, but you're using the audio recorder.
And plus, it's just respectful. We don't leave someone and not say goodbye. Just say goodbye the same way you would say goodbye to a human. Same way you would, like we do here. We say goodbye. Just say goodbye. That's it.
There's Tom McNicholas plugging us, saying, make sure you like the YouTube channel. Need 8,000 subscribers for the end of the weekend. Yep.
We're pretty close.
We need 8,000 basically at the start of the weekend. We're shooting for the end of the month, which is Friday. So we need like 100 over the next couple of days. So we can do it.
So if everybody in this chat room right now posted our YouTube page on their page and said, please like this page, please subscribe to this page, channel.
Trying to, So Judy Wilson has a question here. What is a cool spot where it stays all the time in one place? Guess I'm not quite understanding.
Where what stays?
What stays? And then she falls up to try to harm you. What? Okay. I'm not quite understanding. A cool spot where it stays all the time in one place.
Where what stays?
Yeah. It needed a little more definition on that question. Yeah, and there's Donna's posting of it. What is a cool spot? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
You need to know what it is.
And there's Dawn. I just gained like 400 new friends, so I've been posting for you guys at 100. Thank you. Oh, cold spot.
Oh.
Cold spot. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, I've experienced cold spots in... I can't... I'm trying to think if there's one where it specifically, like, was always lingering there. I mean, usually it's something like where you'll sometimes feel a cold spot in a specific location. Not that it's like always there. And in fact, if it was always there, it would probably be something with the environment or with the building or the structure, and not something paranormal or supernatural. But if it's there on occasion without any reasonable explanation, then it might be something that's paranormal. So... usually, I've experienced cold spots in a number of different places, so I can't think of like one specifically. Jeez. I've had that at residentials and historic places, and yeah. I like it when it's like, feeling like this, where it's like, 90 degrees and humid, and all of a sudden you get a cold spot.
It's like, whoo, can you just come back? Well, we've done it basically somehow we're hot, and then you get a cold spot. You're like, oh, can you please come back over here and just stay by me all night? Just stand right here. It's like, because it's hot, and whenever you come stand by me, it's cooler. I don't know what you're doing to keep doing it, because man, it's hot. It has been hot.
Yeah.
It's like, but in the wintertime, How do you feel a cold spot?
Sean Gilmore says, when I'm swimming, I get unnerved when I come across a warm spot. Nasty.
There was a time at the cafe where we felt a hot spot. We walked in, all of a sudden it was just like a furnace, just like boom, you know. It's like, whoa, you know, like it got like 1,000 degrees hotter all of a sudden. It was almost like it was too hot in one spot. But since we were at the cafe and that was a Native American campsite, we had to wonder, you know, is this lingering energy from a campfire, funeral pyre? You know, it could have been anything.
Yeah, that's
but was
interesting.
there fire there, you know? And was the energy, you know, just residual, you know, there? And we just happened to walk through it at just the right time, because, you know, it was fall, and so, but it was like the later cycle, so it was like around Halloween time.
Interesting.
And so it was significantly cooler outside, but then there was this hot spot that you walked into where all of a sudden it was just like summer. It's like, whoa, but you could walk in and out of it, so we kind of wondered.
Interesting. You know. Yeah, you don't. I guess it's, you know, of course possible. You just don't hear about those too often. And it's midnight in the east.
Yeah, one of these days soon, we're gonna have cafe hour on the edge of the rabbit hole.
Yeah, you and Rita. It'll have to happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. You guys will love that.
Karen Whitaker saying that she did post and shared to all my friends' pages. Awesome. Thank you very much, Karen. Absolutely appreciate that. Tim saying, I share, like, love, the whole 9 yards. Can't ever get enough of Haunted Road Media. Thank you, Tim.
You're definitely a super fan.
Yep. So,
hashtag.
And Donna, yeah, we know you've shared a ton, especially as a Cheshire Cat, and we really do appreciate that. So, from Betty Lange, what is your most consistent equipment not affected by energy? Interesting. Not affected by energy. I mean, I'm trying to think. We had, because we just did the equipment video, so we had it all out over here. Not affected by energy. Well, we can toss out all the EMF stuff, because of course those get affected by energy. Cameras can get affected by energy. The audio recorder can get affected by energy. And sometimes with the audio recorders, you'll hear the that electrostatic sound, which is really interesting when you're at a location that doesn't have any electricity, and all of a sudden you're getting that sound. Not affected by energy. I mean, that's a big thing. What we're trying to pick up on is energy. So they're all kind of affected to a degree or not. I mean, maybe laser grid.
I can't say that, because I had a WTF file moment with my laser grid, so I don't work anymore. But
usually you're like seeing shadows and picking up shadows off of laser grids.
Mine was actually picking up dots off the wall and moving them out of the grid, so I don't even know how to classify that or how that happened or anything.
Yes, there's a fly right there.
It was the weirdest moment.
Something was manipulating the dots off the laser grid.
Yeah, I've told the story before, but I will tell it again.
You're right. I've heard you say that before. It is the
craziest stuff that I have, and I've seen some crazy stuff, but this is one of those moments where I was just like, I have no idea how this happened. And if there hadn't been other people watching it, there'd been no way anybody would have believed me. You know, but there were several of us in the cafe. There were several of us. And we were so worried about something manipulating it, if someone was holding it, or if it was on the table with us, or if it was moving or whatever. So we were all sitting here and facing, you know, the opposite side of the room. And right next to us on the wall was a thermostat, and it was one of those box, you know, kinds. So we put the pen or the laser light up there and taped it down. And we did the, you know, jumping around, moving around, waving stuff around. That thing was not moving. I mean, we're talking duct tape. That thing was up there. It was not moving. So and we were sitting there, and then for a little, starting to get kind of boring actually, because nothing was happening. And then we saw something disturb the grid. We actually saw something go through, and it was just right there. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, just like right there. Nobody was expecting to see anything. And then there's probably 4 or 5 of us there, and all of a sudden, when I saw it, I thought I had imagined it. You know, we'd been sitting there for a little while, but one of the little dots moved. And so and then I sat up, you know, and I was like, nobody else said anything. It's probably just my eyes playing tricks on me. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired, you know. And then it looked like, and you know, when you look at the grid, all the dots are in, you know, same width part. Well, those of you who've seen it, you know what it looks like, you know. And then one of the dots left its spot, and it was like someone just rolled it across.
That's interesting.
You know, it was not there anymore. Like the spot that it came from was not there. So I'm telling you, I know I am not crazy, okay? But I saw that, and then I noticed the other people started sitting up, like we all saw that. It was hard to miss, really, you know. So then, and it happened like 2 or 3 more times, you know, where it would move like individual dots. You know, now I know how those pins work. You know, like if you move it, the whole thing moves. You know, the whole design moves. The whole thing moves. The whole pin moves. The whole thing moves. That's how it works. You know, not just one individual dot leaving its spot, and it looks like someone just flicking it across the wall. You know, so it sounds crazy even when I explain it, but
it's very interesting.
We have a WTF file for all that stuff, and that definitely was the highlight of that investigation. I have never seen anything like that in my life, and nobody has been able to explain it yet. So I'm open.
I'd love to see that happen with a laser grid.
Yeah, and
usually it's the shadow you see walk through it. So
yeah, that's the one and only time I have ever seen that. Ever. So, it's never happened again.
I did, while you were telling the story, I did brainstorm a couple of pieces of equipment not affected by energy. You want to hand me that? Watch the cord. Tripod. I don't believe the tripod, and it's all twisted right now. I don't believe, and now it's coming off. I don't believe the tripod can be affected by energy. I don't know. That's one.
I have a little one.
What?
I have a little tripod in my case.
Yeah, that little metal one, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, from its spot where it was, it just all of a sudden just sailed across the room.
Okay, well that would be like an entity throwing it. Okay.
But an
entity could throw anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does it stop being a tripod or shoot off bells and whistles or whatever because, you know, energy can manipulate it, like touch it?
Well, you can say it about anything, because the other thing I was going to throw out there was like a notepad and a pencil, which we do keep around. But okay. From Tim Schoen, do spirits remember you if you visited them before? Do they remember the way the living do? Yeah, I believe that. I know you believe that.
I believe that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the, it is one of the things that we talk about quite a bit, is building a rapport with these spirits. So going into a location one time, interacting, you know, with the spirits there, and thinking that you're going to get like the creme de la creme of paranormal activity and evidence and all of that, I think is a rarity, because you're walking into a location as a stranger. They don't know you, so they're probably not going to interact with you. So it's kind of, I always liken it to being a salesperson and showing up at somebody's door. So you're a stranger to them. They're not going to be especially welcoming the first time that they meet you. They might be a little more welcoming if you know a little bit about them and you have something to talk about, which is why I like to go in with some information to investigations. So it's going to take a few times of going back before you build up that rapport, and you know, they'll start interacting with you a bit better. That's why I say, you know, we'd like to become friends. You know, part of our line of questioning. What? Okay, so I know we're getting down toward the end here. From Tom, I've looked for a laser grid pen and can't find one. You didn't put a link for it when you got yours. Oh, yeah.
Amazon.
Because I didn't get it off of Amazon.
That's where I got mine.
Because, well, you look up laser grid light on Amazon and you don't get, I have it over here.
Mine was called a party light pen.
Yeah, you don't get, you get all the ones that people use for like aligning, picture frames and stuff like that.
It was like an LED party light pen. It cost me like literally $11.
Mine was less. I think mine was like $4.
I used it. That might have been with shipping.
Yeah.
I think by the time shipping was added.
Yeah.
But it lasted for that thing lasted for a while. And then until that night, never worked again after that. No matter what batteries I put in, so whatever was doing what it was doing with it, killed it.
Yeah. I do apologize for not putting that link. I also didn't put the link for this. I forgot, actually, and I realized after the fact. So, and I did forget to put any link for the laser grid, but I didn't get it off of Amazon. But I guess you did. And I didn't because I couldn't. I guess we use incorrect search terms. I don't know. We call it laser grid. Laser grid to Amazon is like a tool for.
Look up LED party light.
There you go. LED party light.
See if that does it. This was back in like 2007, 2008 ish. Whenever I got it, so maybe it's called something different now. I have no idea.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw one other thing out there before we wrap it up.
It's hot up in the studio.
Donna says she loves the bendiness of the tripod. Yeah, it is. It's a great little tripod because I can do this. You can hook it around all kinds of stuff. I've loved using this actually. And I guess that's another thing, is I didn't actually order this online anywhere. I walked into Target and bought that. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, the other thing that I was going to mention earlier and never got around to, I mentioned I was going to, was the battery drain. So I have a theory on that. I remember when I first brought it up, I think it was Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast, really liked this idea because they'd never heard this little twist on it. Battery drain. So I talked about, Sean's batteries getting drained Sunday morning. We have that happen a lot where all of a sudden we're using new batteries and boom, it drains. And a lot of times we end up saying things like, well, you drained my battery, so you should have energy, or come use these batteries to get energy. And I don't think a lot of these spirits actually know that what they're doing is they're gaining energy for something so that they're able to manifest better and able to communicate better. I think if they knew that, they would stick their finger in a wall socket and get charged up and be able to communicate. And they don't, right? So I think that when battery drain happens, it's a complete accident. Like they're coming over to you and they're like walking into your device and they're draining the battery and they're gaining that energy. Yeah, but I don't think they realize that they are actually doing it. What do you think of that theory?
Yeah, it's like with anything else, unless you're willing to explain this is what this is, this might happen if you, give it a try. I don't think they realize it. It's probably just as much of a surprise to them as it is to, I'm not going to tell a spirit to stick their finger in a light socket and see what happens, so...
Karen Whitaker was saying Ghost Stop has them for $16.95, and that's probably true. Any of the like ghost hunting online stores or something like that. So that's not a sponsored plug, by the way. That's just Karen. There's Diane Hilbert saying, I hear my pillow calling me, so good night.
I hear my air conditioner calling me.
Yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up. We'll take this last question from Betty, because it's a little off subject, but relevant. Where are you going this weekend? So we're going to be at the Manila Schoolhouse in Iowa on Friday night, which we will be investigating. Thank you, Matthew Bennett, for inviting us. We're actually going to be there with the Southern Gypsies. So, Holly Mullins, and I don't know which two. I heard Holly Mullins. See, I'm tired. I'm flipping the name. Holly Mullins and two others. There's 5 of them, 4 of which I know, but I don't know which are the other 2.
Think you can
Will
handle it?
it be the Connor sisters? I don't
Gonna
know.
be an estrogen fest.
Yeah.
Got some wishy women.
But they're all nice. Like I said, I've met 4 of the 5. They're all nice. Holly, the Connor sisters, Kelly Baker, and I don't know who the 5th is, but
I don't know any of them.
you've never met any of them. Yeah, you will on Friday. They're nice. They're nice. And then I guess it's Ghost Crier and Madison Smith. I think Maddie was in here earlier this evening. Are going to be there on Saturday. So, what is that? Explain what happened to the site's electrical system if you did do the light socket. I don't know. Well, this is a good question. I don't know if a ghost stuck his finger in the light socket, what would happen? I have no idea.
I mean,
it would probably be like, I don't know if you guys remember this show from the early 80s. It lasted 1 season. It was called Misfits of Science. Anybody? Misfits of Science. And the one guy, they all had like some weird, something going on with them that they were able to harness, almost like a superpower sort of thing. But, or they had some oddball thing going on with them, or super intelligence, whatever the hell the thing was. This guy had some sort of way that he could channel electricity. So I remember, like, they were trying to escape from somewhere, and they're like fighting off these guys, whatever. But he's basically sticking his hands on like this electric generator and like charging up, and then like firing lightning bolts at him. It was, I know, kind of crazy. That's probably why it only lasted 1 season.
I'd love to have that superpower.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. There's Linz. Linz knows what I'm talking about. It's Misfits of Science. OMG. See, there we go.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, well, it didn't last very long. It probably had like 8 episodes, and that was it. She says it was her favorite show. Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. I remember a couple of episodes. I know I watched them all. I just remember a couple of episodes. I remember that one scene in particular. Yeah, and Donna says, if you haven't subscribed to the White Rabbit Notification Squad, please do so. She does repost all of our stuff in there. So that would be great. So, yeah, we're going to be at Manila Schoolhouse this weekend. And, she says, I was joking, like, try explaining to the site owners how their electrical system's fried because you asked them to stick a finger in the socket. Oh, okay. Sorry, we fried your electric because we told the ghost to stick a finger into the socket. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I don't know if we're going to go live from there. The last couple of live streams haven't worked out so well, being out in remote locations. So if we're too remote, I don't think we're going to try it, because it kind of does a disservice to you guys that you're seeing this real grainy picture. Yeah, you're getting us live, but you're not really experiencing the location all that well. And while we love the interaction back and forth that we have with you guys at locations that we are able to broadcast live from that are good quality, and we think it does bring in another dynamic to the investigation. You guys have another set of eyes and ears. I think it does them a disservice when we go live to some place that's grainy and buffering. And
yep, I agree.
Yeah. So if it's like that there, we're not going to go live. But we will, of course, film and have a paranormal investigation for you guys from there. So
we're going to be going back to Cheney soon also.
We'll be going back to Cheney House. Cheney Mansion.
Unfortunately, the signal is not that great there either. But
so that's all right. So, but we'll have a lot of material from there then. So, all right, everybody. We got to do shout outs. So I'm just mind blown that somebody actually remembers Misfits of Science, and it was a favorite show. That's awesome, Linz. She's still talking about it. All right, so Super Chat Superstars, who we have? We have quite a few in Edge of the Rabbit Hole. So we have Tom McNicholas, when he said positive vibes on the new book. So thank you very much, Tom McNicholas, Super Chat Superstar. All right, so Donna Gordon, thank you for Cheshire Cat chatting the chat tonight. Really do appreciate it. And, Lynn's Misfits of Science, you got a huge shout out for that one. So it's awesome. Shauna's still over here like, what the hell is he talking about?
Must have been in a different state. I don't think I've ever.
And it was out around the same time as, and maybe it was a year before or a year after it. But it was around the same time as like The Greatest American Hero.
I've heard of that.
You've heard of that because it had a hit song, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was also a nickname of mine when I was a kid working at Taco Bell. Because one time we were flying up there with the lettuce, saving the day.
God.
I know. You can tell it's getting late. So, all right. So, shout outs. Let's get to that, and then just let's end this. So, we got Tim Schoen down in there. Thank you very much, Tim, for joining us again tonight. Shay Carroll, thank you very much, Shay. Really do appreciate that. Nichelle Thompson. Good to see you in house tonight. Andrew Cox, thank you as well. Dawn, Spooky Spectacular, thank you very much. There's the Haglin. Hey, good to see you down there. Of course, there's Lynn's. There's Betty Lange. Thanks for joining us again tonight. Absolutely appreciate that. Judy Wilson, thank you for the questions tonight. You had quite a few on both shows. It's Kathy Ciliento. Hey, Kathy, thanks for sticking around. And I know some people have bailed out. I know Diane Hilbert already bailed out. Chipper Terry, thanks for joining us tonight. Chanel F, thank you too. And Karen Whitaker, thanks for hanging out for both shows. Yeah. Karen.
Yeah.
Karen was that?
No.
What?
Or Cheney, yes.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, we need to go to Zen.
Bring Karen to Zen. There you go.
Yeah, you need to show up next time I go to Zen.
So Trisha Egley saying, thanks for the fantastic show. Made my husband subscribe. Awesome hubby. We appreciate that. Please watch too. We would appreciate that. Yeah.
Binge watch.
Yes. Tracy Christian, thanks for joining us again. There's Diane Hilbert saying goodnight over there. I'm scrolling up is what I'm doing. And who else do we got? All right, I'm going to scroll back down. If I miss you, I do apologize. And I know some people bailed out early. Some people are lurking. I know Sean Gilmore was in there at one point. Adam Tillery was in there at one point. A lot of people. So, where do we go?
If you're lurking,
scrolling down.
There's lurking, speak up.
There's Susie Randall says, miss you both, always catch the replays.
Aww.
Well, I'm glad you caught us at the very end here, Susie. And I think that is going to be about it. Yeah, there's Donna singing Believe It or Not, I'm Flying in Air. I had that little 45.
Wing on a Prayer, Believe It or Not, it's just me song. Yeah.
I'm walking on air. It was a terrible show. That's another one that lasted one season, but it had a huge song. Yep. All right, everybody. And with that, because I can't sing worth a lick, it's Sean. Is it over? Yeah. If Mike starts singing, it's over. And Interface Death, Justin. Good to see you. All right. I think that's Justin, right? Interface Death? Yeah. Should be. Yeah, it's still Adam Tillery, still lurking. Yeah. All right. Whew, that's it. We're done. Tom McNicholas, good night. Yes. Believe it or not. Okay.